Hey, I'm Rev the Roadie, and this is Seekers A to Z. I am glad that you're here for this video. Today, the deck is called Draw to Win and Bonus. It is a multiplayer deck, so let's go. Before we dive into the build today, I want to throw a big shout out to TPK Gaming and thanks for the wonderful qualifier that you put on a few days back. Thanks for everyone for the games. It was a lot of fun meeting you, and congrats to Mint on getting that win. Hope to see all of you at Gen Con later on this summer for the Nationals. But in the meantime, let's talk about this build. In a card game that doesn't automatically draw cards, card draw is crucial to how we build our decks. So this deck is called Draw to Win. Now, realistically, we all have to draw cards in order to win, but this one specifically takes our draw mechanic and uses it as a way in order to deal damage to our opponent. To make this deck work, we're of course using Flying Fortress as our main means of damage. That's the one where we draw cards, and each time we draw a defend card, we can reveal it to deal damage to our opponent. And we're making that damage even more lethal by including our Skyward Observatories. That helps us ramp up the damage in really powerful ways. Once we have Skyward Observatory out and Flying Fortress out, then we simply draw cards. Whether we're using our draw mechanics, whether we're passing to draw cards. My favorite way to draw into this is using things like Sun Beacons, or Shapeshifters, or Moonlight Burrowers, or Gravity Wells to draw these cards. And I especially like to use things like Sun Beacons and Shapeshifters because they have the potential to do damage. Well, Sun Beacons are always going to do damage, but between the two, we can ramp that damage with our Skyward Observatory in addition to the damage that we're doing with Flying Fortress. Now, up till now, this works in many different ways. It works in multiplayer, it works in single player, but I promised that this was a multiplayer deck, and to make this happen, we look at our combos. As you're going to see later on in the video, there are a couple of the combos that would go well in any sort of deck, that almost auto-include, especially with an Astral. You know, we're thinking of things like Black Hole that are just must-includes anytime we're building a deck like this. But our multiplayer ones that we're looking at are Rippling Flare and Gravity Bubble. Now, Gravity Bubble is one that I normally don't put into any of my Astral decks. It just has such a high risk, high reward sort of situation. I really don't want to spend some of those damage dealing buffs that my opponent has and deal damage to me, but in a multiplayer setting, it specifically says that we're rotating all other heroes' buffs. So if we have an opportunity to rotate some of those damage buffs and deal damage to other opponents in our table, that just sets us up for future successes, while recharging our Flying Fortresses and our Skyward Observatories to continue dealing the damage that we need to our target. Let's take a look at the list. Looking at this list, we see that we come in well under $100. We even have a little money left over to get some nice sleeves for our deck. I know we talked about a couple of the other combos earlier in the video, but there's some good ones that we usually use in most all of our builds, like Lunar Alignment, you know, which allow us to stay alive. Staying immune is a handy thing in this build. And Black Hole's a must whenever we find ourselves against an opponent that's using a lot of buffs. It's good to have a Black Hole somewhere in our deck. And even if they don't, it's great for paying for other buffs. Just an all-around utility card to have in our decks if we're running an Astral build. Other things that we're really looking at is our Icona Tacticians. You know, a couple of these goes a long way. And also our Zeppelin Scouts. You know, we only have one. It's just our little lone Zeppelin Scout, but you know, it's in there in case we need to restructure the top of our deck, or if we feel a little funny, or if we feel like we want to mess with our opponent a little bit, we can always rearrange the top of their deck as well. It's just a lot of fun card to have. I had the space for it, so I thought, you know, let's throw in one, and it's been a lot of fun to once in a while play that one out and see what happens with it. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. If you like the content that you're seeing here on Seekers A to Z, go ahead and subscribe. It's a great way to support the channel, as well as stay up to date on the latest videos that are coming out. If you have a lot of experience with multi, drop a comment down below on some of your experiences. Well, until next time, make sure to keep on creating, and I'll see you in the next video.